All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to How to Take Advantage of Aggressive Players Part 2. That's right, Part 2, this sequel. In this video, we're just going to continue what we did on the past video when we're in the opening or maybe the start of the middle of the game, but our opponent is very aggressive. They're pushing us around. Usually the positions I'm going to go over, I see at the beginner level. Again, when there's a beginner-ish player or a beginner to intermediate player picking on, bullying a newbie player who's not too defensively savvy, who hasn't seen enough patterns yet. So these are the most common positions that I've seen. They're not the only ones. They're not the only traps. Disclaimer out there, they're not the only ones. But these are the most common traps to look out for. So this is a continuation, like I said in the earlier video. Anyway, let's get started. What's another trap that I see early on in the opening at the beginner levels? I see this one right here. We have a normal opening. White is preparing to play the Italian game, and black should just simply develop maybe c5, f6, but plays this move instead and tries to throw his opponent off. Now, we know that we should not be moving the same piece twice in the opening unless we have a really good reason to. So this, in essence, abandons the opening principles of chess, the opening philosophy of chess, because we want to get all of our pieces out. If we're too busy moving around the same piece, then we're not going to get our other pieces out. So white here, though, a lot of times says, oh, look, my opponent just gave up a pawn. And not only that, I have a battery on f7. I take with the knight. I'm forking the queen and rook. I'm going to win this game. My opponent doesn't know how to play chess. I'm good. But wait, and objectively, this is okay for white, actually. But if you play this for white, you will lose, because you have to play very sharp for white, and black, if black plays this, they're playing this because they have opening knowledge of this. They have the trap set up. They know the lines to this position. Okay, so queen g5 comes out, and white, again, objectively is okay, but in reality is in trouble. When I say objectively okay, I mean the computer, the engine is saying, if you play these series of moves, you're okay, but honestly, just do not get into this variation. Okay, so a lot of times white will just take on f7 and say, hey, I'm forking the queen and rook. I'm winning. I'm the best chess player of all time. What can my opponent do here? And the opponent simply says, okay, I'm going to move my queen out of the way and take on g2. And now, what to do? We cannot take the rook here because black takes with check, only moves the block, and we're in some serious trouble right now after this. Okay, the queen can block, and you can lose the queen, or the bishop can block, and this check right here, and if you come here with your king, you're getting checkmated. And if you take with the queen, you just lose your queen. So for that reason, most players play rook. Whoops. For that reason, most players don't take the rook, which is good. They play rook f1. But it doesn't matter because now black has queen e4 anyway. If you come here, you sword again, knight f3 mate. And if you come here, you just simply, in this position, lose the queen and the game is over. Well, basically over. Okay, so what do you do here? In this position, if you just castle away and just continue your development, you're completely fine here, and you're in a better position than your opponent. You have your castle, your knight's out, your bishop's out. You have 3 developmental moves. Your opponent has 1. And if he takes your knight, now you have your queen out as well. You're castled, you have your bishop out, and he has 0 development. You're much better here. But the best move here, the most accurate, is playing knight takes d4 first, messing up black's pawn structure, and then castling. And now you have a lead in development. Black's pawn structure is messed up. Now you can play f4, taking over the center. There's no pawn that is challenging the f4 square, and you're much better here. So if you see that, that's what you want to play. Okay, so the next position I want to go over, okay, is one of my favorite mating patterns. So that's right, I said mating pattern. We have a checkmate coming out of this position. So we have a normal looking game so far, and this is all okay for black so far. But you notice that white's developing, moving pieces, playing well, let's say we have h6 from black. Black doesn't want the bishop to pin his knight at some point, maybe. Okay. White just continues developing like a good chess player. And here black should just play knight f6, knight c6, bishop e7. They're all good. But black plays bishop g4 here, pinning the knight and saying, yeah, your knight's not going anywhere. I'm being aggressive. I'm pressuring you. If you try to kick me out, maybe I'll just come back here. I'll maintain the pin. If you try to kick me out again, you're weakening your potential king side if your king wants to go this way. It's annoying. It's very annoying. But in this position, we have the stunning. Pause your videos and try to find it. Okay, if you found it, congratulations. Comment below that you found it, and please don't lie. If you're lying, tell me you're lying in the comment section, though, just to be honest. All right. Okay, we have knight takes e5. And believe it or not, black's best chance here is to simply realize that he went astray, he messed up, and to just take the knight. And basically, we win a pawn here, and we have more development than black. We have 3 pieces out, black has no pieces out, and he's down a pawn. We have a much better position. Okay, but after we take the pawn, black's like, the reason why he played this is so the knight can't move. So black is more likely than not going to say, oh my God, he just couldn't take the pressure of my attack. My brilliant attack was mounting and pressuring him, and he just couldn't deal with my genius anymore, my pressure. And he finally just gave into it, and then he just comes down here, takes your queen, and just slams the queen down. Even though he's playing on the computer and there's no physical queen in his hand, he still slams it down. And then we just calmly say, check, sir. Check to your king. And now the king cannot go here because the king cannot take the bishop because of the knight. And then the king comes forward and we play the stunning knight d5, checkmate. And black looks pretty silly in this position. So for the future, add this to your arsenal. And if you're playing with the black pieces, don't do this because you'll look very silly. And we don't like to look silly, right? Okay. So what's another one? Okay. Another one we'll look at from black's perspective here is this is called very similar to Legal's mate in the fact that we're dealing with a pin in the same way. So we're dealing with an aggressive pin and we're trying to counter it. Okay. So this comes out of Legal's this comes out of the Queen's Gambit. And in this position, we have takes, knight c3, knight f6, and boom, an immediate pin. I'm coming for you. I'm going to crush you. Let's go. Okay. Black just simply plays knight d7, supporting his knight. And then white comes down here and says, oh no, I can take your pawn. This is an illusion. You're not really defending this because if you take, I take your queen. So what's going on here? So what happens in these positions where we're being pressured? And we're being pressured too soon. And in this position, this is an over-aggressive attack. And I see this a lot of times too in beginner-level games. So we can't put our bishop here because the knight will just simply take. And if white doesn't see this, I mean, he could just, if he plays this, then we're still just, well, this would, I guess, win a piece, but we can't really count on white playing another bad move. So if we come here, we just drop the bishop, right? So here, what do? We don't want the knight here, right? If the bishop could come here, check, and there was no knight and no bishop here to come back and no knight to take, white would have to give away his queen. That's the only way to get out of check. So what do we do here? Pause your videos and really try to find it. Don't move until you see it. Okay, black plays again. Knight takes d5 and opens up his queen for the taking. So we got rid of one defender of this diagonal, right? The knight was defending this checking square. And now the bishop, because white's a very aggressive player, over-aggressive player, nothing wrong with being aggressive, but over-aggressive, takes the queen. And now we just simply play bishop e4. There's only one way out of the check. Now white has to give away his queen. So we take the queen. King comes out. then we take the bishop, and we just won a piece, and we should go on to win this game. We're just cleaning up a piece. Okay. What's another one I see? Last one for this episode. Okay, so here we have something similar, but the bishop comes out a little too soon, and we have, the bishop's pinning the knight to the queen. So let's say we have this, and we'll play, white should play here, but let's say white plays a random move. Okay. In this position, if we had check, the bishop's not protected. So if we had check here, right, we could win the bishop, but this pawn's here. So we simply take, and again, white should see this now, that something changed in the position, and ask, what's the threat? And maybe simply just move back, or maybe just take, and then take the pawn. But white is an over-aggressive player here. He came out with a pin very soon. He just wants the piece. He wants the pawn. He wants to get all his pieces. He's very greedy. And here we just play queen a5, and after the block, we take the bishop. And there's a lot of positions like this, or even out of the Sicilian, where the queen comes to a5 and wins the bishop over here that's not protected, or at least wins a tempo on the bishop that's unprotected. So whenever we have the bishop here not forking, but pinning the knight, always look for the queen coming to a5, possibly winning that bishop, or at least winning a tempo on it, so he has to cover himself. Like, let's say knight here, and then we make another move, and we take over the initiative of the game. Anyway, those are the most common traps that I see in the opening. This is a continuation of the first video, so if you didn't see the first video, go back to the first video. I went through the very, very basic traps that I see in beginner level games. And if you look at these two videos, this will help you avoid a lot of headaches and a lot of games that you would have potentially lost if you watch these videos. And now, instead of losing the game, you can turn it around and win, or at the very least, survive in the opening and, able to play a normal chess game into the middle game and maybe into the end game. So, all right, if you like the content, please comment, like, and subscribe. I'll see you later.